anxious to step through the gate again, Major?
Yes, I am.
We all are.
Would you like us to bring back anything special?
No thanks.
Groceries, new outfit, flatware?
No, just yourselves in one piece, please. Dial it up. Be safe.
Welcome to the Jumping Puddles podcast. Be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube. And follow us at Jumping Puddles Podcast on Tumblr and Instagram, and Jumping Pud Pod on Twitter. Hi, I'm Sam, and with me are my fellow co-hosts, Tor and Ash.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey!
And this week, we watched Duet. Our run-in with a Wraith Dart leaves the consciousness of a precocious Atlantis security officer trapped in Dr. McKay's mind.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'll say, this episode is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, where to even start, truly? I mean, I think what's so funny about the summary you just read, though, and they called her precocious. Interesting choice of words there.
Yeah, I agree. Quite interesting.
I'll never forget the person on Tumblr, who I think sent an ask, or they commented or something, and they were like, I can't wait for you guys to get to Duet.
We're here.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. And boy, oh boy, was this sure an episode. This is an episode of TV that was made
In the 2000s.
in the 2000s. Clear little time capsule of that era.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna...
want to just rip off the Band-Aid?
Yeah, let's jump into the most controversial aspect of this episode, which there's a few, but I feel like the main one is the body sharing aspect of the episode between our beloveds Rodney McKay and Lieutenant Cadman, who was first introduced in this episode.
What a way to be introduced.
Yeah.
She had 1 minute on screen in her own body?
Pretty much. Right at the beginning and then right at the very end of the episode.
She makes a horrible first impression. Let's be so clear. And it sucks, right? Because I mean, we're all, if you've been listening to us, you know, we're all champions of women. We try to support women. However, we're also not stupid. And we'll call out problematic behavior. And so I totally get why people don't vibe with Cadman purely based off this episode. Because she's written, and yeah, I mean, less than 3 minutes into the first scene of her, Carson, and Ronnie talking, it's just like, bam, sexism, bam, homophobia, bam, fat shaming. It's like whoa. It's like the trifecta of all the problems in Stargate are just in this one little scene within 3 minutes of you first watching this episode. And if that doesn't set the tone, no one does. That tells us a lot about what this episode's going to be like.
Oh yes, and it just gets worse from there on. If the first scene of the episode set the tone, I think the scene in Rodney's bedroom that segues into Cadman's bedroom is like the cherry on top of the poop sundae, where I love that scene in Rodney's room because I love all of the set touches that they did. I love the picture of his cat, so we're continuing that whole story thread from the first season. And the ginormous Tim Hortons coffee mug, because of course he's Canadian and he loves coffee. And then his bedroom wall of all his degrees, and even a picture of the Canadarm, which was really fun. I like that canonically Rodney had helped create or build it, which is really fun. But then it segues into some of the most horrible, horrendous dialogue that I had ever the displeasure to hear on this show. My problem with the Rodney Cadman body sharing thing is the double standard of it all. If Rodney was the one stuck in Cadman's body, and he decided to take control of her body and make out with people on the base, strip her down naked to go to sleep, make comments about her body. People would be getting the pitchforks out and rioting in the street and would say, oh, you know, Rodney's so misogynistic and blah, blah, blah. Nobody, I feel like nobody has really looked at this episode and said, like, pointed out any of Cadman's behavior as being an issue. And it was more played as a comedic thing. Whereas I feel like if it was done to Cadman, we would not be laughing at all. And I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funnier too. Oh, it's funny. Because, like, haven't we've talked at length about how the writers were basically, or Rodney was like the self-insert for the writers in the writers' room. They were like, the genius misunderstood, arrogant asshole, but he becomes the hero and saves the day. Okay, so it's like, why on earth, like, did they write this episode? Like, what kind of self-insert, like, what kind of fantasy were they going for here for them? The biggest sort of confusion, I think, is just like what was the purpose of this episode? All the Rodney and Cadman stuff is, like, horrendous, you know, based off of the lack of consent, you know, issues, which is something, may I remind you, that they do not, like, learn from. They do this again in Universe. Universe has a bunch of consent issues.
Oh, yes.
With the stones, which is something, we'll talk about someday. We'll talk about it someday. So it's not like they've never learned, you know, and consent issues, all this stuff, right? It's also like, what is this doing for Rodney as a character? You just, this goes back to what we were just talking about last episode, which is what I said. Runner was the line they had crossed when they realized that they could make Rodney this comedic character and just carry all the humor. And then this episode comes along straight after, and it's like, wow, so you just, like, they not only went over the line, they, like, towed over the line, they also, like, just drove straight through it, like, on a truck, brushed past it, you know. And I don't know, this episode just, with all the Rodney and Cadman stuff, just, there's just an abundance of issues. We could spend hours talking about every single issue, and there still wouldn't be enough time.
And it's a shame, too, because like you said, I think we mentioned it in last episode, David Hewlett's physical acting is so great, and I think he does slapstick so well, and I think we see that in this episode when, after the date scene, when he's arguing with himself about leaving or going back, like, his physical acting is great, but it just, I don't think, you're right, it doesn't do any service to his character at all. Like, I think the only redeeming part of the whole ordeal is the very end, when one of them, they're told basically that one of them has to let go in order for the other one to live. And Cadman, upon her offering to sacrifice herself, saying she's less important than Rodney arguing with her and being like, don't say that. I think that was a step forward for him, because we know that he tends to say, like, oh, you need to protect me because I'm the smart one, like, whatever, like, risk your life for me. But I think deep down, you know, he doesn't really mean it. Clearly, like, he doesn't want Cadman to die. So, despite what she did to him this entire episode, which is just like, Rodney's a saint, I'll say it right now. I never thought I would say that, but yeah, so that was a nice tidbit, but everything else I cannot forgive.
I want to go back to what you said about his acting, and I feel like sometimes he did such a good job imitating Cadman, and the way she talked. There's one in the exact scene that you mentioned where he's like, where both consciousnesses are fighting, and he says hello, or she says that, and it sounds exactly like Cadman says it. I was like, damn, he really hit that one. But I feel like in the scene with Carson, where she takes over his body, it's not Cadman. That's not Cadman that's walking around there. I feel like, I don't know if it was David's choice or if it was director's choice. I don't know, but I feel like they were trying to show, oh, this is a woman now, so we're gonna give her we're gonna open her zipper a bit, and the hand on the hip thing, and it was all these stereotypes that came through that were not Cadman, and that peeved me also.
Yeah.
Like Cadman, as in Rodney's body, she did so much touching, and Rodney doesn't do that. He's no. So it was really weird that Carson didn't pick up on anything, especially because he knew that Cadman was in Rodney.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I was Carson in that situation, okay, and even if Rodney was himself, and Rodney was like, hey, Carson, come on this date with me, I would say, no, I will not. I will not come on this date with you. Why would you volunteer to be a third wheel in this person's thing? Like, it's just so uncomfortable. Like, he was setting himself up to be uncomfortable, and he succeeded. Like, that's what happened. I was so confused.
Yeah. I don't know why he would agree, especially because, like, thinking about it, right? Like, how many seasons have they really had together to establish their friendship?
Like a year.
Yeah, but like just comparing it to like Zelenka is what I mean. Like in season 1, I feel like Rodney and Zelenka have such more of like a clear friendship. They do this thing with Rodney and Carson where they try to be like, oh, they're best friends. They love each other, and it's like, who said that? We've never seen that in our lives. And so I feel like for him to just like, for Rodney first of all to go to Carson and be like, hey, can you come on my date? Is just such a weird thing because like, again, like the relationship is so undefined. It's barely there from what we've seen so far. Like, obviously, I know we get more, I think this season or next season, I don't know. But, like, it should have been Zelenka. But I think the reason why they didn't have Zelenka there, because Zelenka would be like, fuck no. Zelenka would generally be like, you need me to hold your hand at a dinner party? Like, Zelenka would bully him if Cadman tried to do that to him.
Yeah, you're so right. Also, about the Rodney Carson relationship, I think it was mostly bullying that Rodney did. Didn't he mostly try to get Carson to sit in a chair or ask him about a little scratch he had to be like patched up and everything? I mean, the reason why Cadman went to him is because she has a crush on him, right? So it made sense, but it doesn't make sense that Carson wouldn't realize anything, and it would be so funny. If for whatever reason she went to Zelenka, because he would not be having. He would like, you are insane, my guy. You are just absolute, because they bicker all the time, and then like they work together when they have like ideas and everything. But aside from that, they have huge issues in this episode. So yeah, that would be hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of two, really quick before, there's just so much to talk about, but okay, so we know that Cadman has like just come from the dead list, which again, I do love that like they keep like just dropping new people and being like, oh, they came from the dead list. Like, I love that. We get so much more, like, you know, we meet Katie Brown this episode. We meet like so many different types of people in different departments and stuff on Atlantis, which is great. I love it. But I'm so confused by the Cadman and Carson pairing. Genuinely, on what Earth, on what planet, in what universe do they make sense?
I keep forgetting that they are trying to set them up. Like, even I don't know. I don't think I have watched this episode much more than all the others, but it kind of stands out from. I feel like it stands out from other episodes. And even the kiss, like, even then I forget that. Basically, Cadman in this whole episode is just trying to get into Carson's pants. It seems like, but I keep forgetting that they try to make that a thing, and even in the end, there's like this little, I don't know, hand holding or something, and I think it's even they bring that up again, that there is like something between them. I'm almost like, oh, yeah, no, how, why?
Yeah, it's the most awkward way to introduce a romance. like through a proxy. It's just so, it's very, yeah, it's really bizarre. Even in terms of Rodney and Katie Brown, it's such an awkward way to introduce the fact that he's gonna be dating this girl for what goes on to be like 2 or 3 seasons. And I was confused about Katie's involvement as well. Like, does she not know that Cadman is stuck inside Rodney when they're going on this date? Like, I'm sure news about it is all over base because they're like all the scientists are working on trying to fix them. So I don't think patient-doctor confidentiality applied there. And so, like, why would you still be like, yeah, let's do this date even though you have somebody else in your body? Like, I don't know. It was just weird.
So weird. And well, let's get into Katie, I guess. I really like Katie as like a character.
Yeah.
Not as like a thing with like Rodney, because I think we can all agree that they would have never worked. I think if Rodney was a completely different person, yeah. So I do love Katie. I think she's really sweet, but just as a love interest for Rodney, no. And again, it just kind of pisses me off that like they introduced 2 like new like science people, or like, you know, one military, one science, you know, and such like cool parts. Like we have a botanist, like, oh, a botanist, yay! Like Parrish, like she's like gonna be in a few more episodes, yay! You know, and like Cadman, an explosive expert. Yo,
That's
I want
fun.
to see her like in action off, you know, yeah, on a mission. And it's so fucking annoying. They brought these 2 female characters on just to be these goddamn romantic interests for men that they don't even fundamentally work with. It's so back to the self-insert bullshit. It's so fucking self-insert OCE.
Yeah, and going back to Katie Brown, for me, I have mixed feelings about the Rodney-Katie romance. I feel like, not for them to be, like, to get married and whatnot, but I feel like it could have been utilized more for, I know this is awful to say, Rodney's character development. Like, I feel like if they made her own character and also used her as, like, a vehicle to make Rodney realize some things about himself, I would have enjoyed that. This idea of her being this, like, really nice, genuinely nice person, and him feeling like he has to change himself in order to be with her, like, I think that's an interesting tension, an interesting thing that Rodney could have gone through if it was given more attention and she had her own personality instead of just being his girlfriend in the show. But of course, we didn't get that, and so... But the potential was there, so I don't hate it. Like, I see where it could have been interesting.
I think, here's the thing, there's a way this episode could have worked. Like, genuinely, I think there's some sort of, especially, like, we haven't talked about the Taylor and Ronan, and that's, you know, that's good stuff. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We're getting the bad stuff out of the way. But, like, with Rodney and Cadman, like, I'm not sure. Like, I think there could have been a better way to do it all. And I think it wouldn't be my first choice for, like, a Rodney story, but, like, whatever. If they wanted to keep the body swapping, it could have been at least interesting, or at least giving us a new perspective on him as a person or her as a character or whatever. But I think it just falls in so flat on its face because it tries so hard to be like, oh, it's funny that Rodney's getting stripped down naked. It's funny that he's being forced to kiss his coworkers as he has to, like, work with, that he doesn't even have feelings for. It's funny that, like, she's making fun of his body and she's making fun of, like, all the things he likes to do and, like, all of his, like, she's basically bullying him as a person while she's stuck in his body. So it's just broken. It's a broken script.
Yeah.
Do you think the episode would have been better if it had been a proper body swap? So if both bodies were there and just the personalities were exchanged?
Actually, I would be
Or
afraid.
Yeah, because I was like, would have made it better or worse? Because we were talking about it earlier with the double standards. I think those would have been just so much more clearer then, because they both would have the body that doesn't belong to them, and they would both be doing stuff. And for Rodney, it would probably have become more problematic even though Catman was doing the same thing to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so weird. And, like, even in
Yeah.
therapy, when they were talking with Kate Heitmeyer, she was like, oh, Rodney, you need to, like, share and, like, let go. And I was like, no, not when Cadman's acting like that. I don't think so. Like, imagine if it was the other way around. Heitmeyer was telling Cadman, oh, you need to let go and let Rodney do whatever he wants with your body. Like, no, I don't think so. I really don't think that that's okay at all. And that's what really bothered me about this entire episode, that it was framed like it was okay because Rodney's an asshole anyway. He deserves it. Or Rodney's a man, so, like, he doesn't care. He must love that a woman is in his mind, and clearly doesn't. The whole episode is him being like, I do not enjoy this. Like, not even in a joking way, like, I'm saying I don't like it, but I really do. Like, no, he just really genuinely is not happy the entire episode.
Yeah, it's terrifying to have your body taken over, and he can feel it. Partly, like, not always, because Caitlin, like, at first he just hears her, but later she actually takes control over his body, and they are basically fighting for it, and that must be horrible, not having control.
Well, I guess I'll just go back to what Tor was saying earlier, though, like you guys are proposing. I think it just, either way, this episode, given who wrote it, and given the time period this was set in, I just think either way it would have just been a fucking disaster.
You raise an interesting point. After all this work we did in season 1 to show everybody, like, oh, Rodney is a three-dimensional character. He's not just Sam Spoil. He's not just an asshole, misogynist guy. Like, he's this, and this. He has these qualities. To kind of have this episode that's almost like a Just Desserts or revenge episode in a sense, like, oh, he deserves this kind of thing. I don't know. It's just like, does he now, after we went through all of that? I don't know. It's such, I don't know how to feel about it even. It's just so weird. Not to mention, like, the latent misogyny and homophobia and a lot of the jokes and just in the premise of the episode. Like, right off the bat in the first 2 seconds and then at the end as well.
I will say something, though. I will say, what I'm extremely grateful for is that, it sounds so strange to say, but I'm so happy none of, like, the main cast, like Taylor, John, Elizabeth, or Ronan, were, like, super involved with all the mess that was going on with Rodney.
True.
I've been so fucking pissed if, like, Rodney had, like, complained or had, like, gone to, like, Elizabeth or Taylor and been like, I'm literally, like, so angry, and they would have, like, dismissed him. Because Kate Heitmeyer does that. And it's like, girl, you are a shitty ass therapist. Like, girl, like, maybe they should get someone else here, because, like, she gave him some horrible ass advice, and, like, she's just totally dismissive. And I think it would have driven me absolutely balls to the wall crazy if he had tried to convey his, like, genuine, like, dislike or genuine fear of what's happening to him, and one of the main characters would have, like, dismissed him and been like, haha, you're so funny, like, just take it like a man, or some bullshit they would have said. Like, 100%. Thank the Lord we got, like, one McShep scene, and then he backed out. Because I know those writers would have tried to make John say something so evil, and it would have just ruined the ship, genuinely. Would have ruined so many things if any of the characters had not been in Rodney's, like, corner, backing him up.
But instead, we got the, no, you're cool, I'm fine line, which is my favorite and the most iconic of maybe this season and the whole show. I just love it so much.
Well, actually, let's talk about that really quick. I love that John tried to apologize.
He tried.
It's so sweet. Look at him going. Look at him trying his little best. He cannot get the words out physically. He's, like, literally like, I hope you don't think that of me. And Rodney's like, shut the fuck up. I know how hard this is for you. It's okay. We get some good, except for the ending, which is another thing we'll talk about. But I think we get some good McShep crumbs for the most part.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked John's discomfort. I liked him having to be the one apologizing in their relationship, because I feel like in very soon episodes, the tables are going to be turned. So it was interesting to see him be the apologetic one. The one that has something to say sorry for. And I just like Rodney's reaction to it, like, whatever. Like, he didn't even, it wasn't even like a thing he was thinking of, like, oh, darn you, John, for doing this to me, which was sweet as well. And I love how the conversation sort of reinforced their sort of odd coupliness, the nerd and the army guy difference between them. I liked it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really fun, like, little moments we get. We get quite a few little McShep crumbs, and we also get some Rodney and Elizabeth later on. But for McShep, I just want to mention really quick, I love that moment in the beginning where I love that little scene of when Rodney goes inside the Wraith thing and Carson's like, well, which one do I get out? And John's like, doesn't even hesitate, he's like, Rodney. And Carson's like, well, wait, like, I don't know which one is Rodney. Like, I don't, and John is like, Rodney. And I know he's like genuinely thinking like, okay, well, Rodney's the smartest, blah, blah, blah. But I like to think it's just like his deep repressed feelings inside popping out. And he's like, Rodney. And then he tries to justify it, and he's like, yeah, because he's the smartest one. He can save Cadman later. But I love that little scene.
I love it too because I feel like, and this is throughout the whole series, John is like, well, Rodney can fix everything. So we'll get him out first because he'll fix it. Like, even over like Zelenka, who's literally right there trying to save the day. And John's like, well, Rodney can do it if you can't do it. No problem. Don't worry about it. So just that trust is really nice to see. This trust that will be tested and very soon, but it's nice to see the foundation, at least.
Also, I don't know if this counts as a McShep moment, but just in the beginning, after Rodney and Catman had been beamed up or whatever, John jumps in front of the gate, of the open gate. I don't know what he was thinking, but if the dart would have gone through, I feel like he would have been decapitated. But it just shows how far John would go.
So true. He's like, you're gonna have to go through me, bitch. Which the ship could easily have done, but the sentiment was there.
Yeah. Yo.
John, you idiot. So cute. And then I want to bring up the Elizabeth and Rodney moment.
Yeah,
we get some interesting ones this episode. There's that one where Rodney calls Cadman, or he tells her to be a good little girly.
Ew.
That was awful.
I almost died throwing up, right? Yeah. But we get Elizabeth's eye raise. She's in the background. She literally, after he says that, she raises her eyebrow. She's like, bitch. Like, I know, she was 2 seconds away from slapping the shit out of him. Yeah. I really appreciated that. Because I think Elizabeth should. She deserves a good slap sometimes. She should just hit Rodney one time. Like, I don't know. Just, good little girly, just get out of there. No. But, yeah, so I love that little moment. And then I love when he's kind of, he's also in the lab and, like, he's, like, yelling, because Cadman's just being fucking annoying in his brain. And then she's like, Rodney. And he's like, what? And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm so sorry, bestie. He's like, I would never, ever apologize to you, queen. He is so like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, he's so, whoa. Like, I know Rodney would never yell at Elizabeth like that. And I think you could just tell. And she's kind of like taken aback too. She's like, all right, you need to get out of the lab. So I think they kind of both were just like, she realized how bad this was going for him and like how much he was dealing with. So she's like, you need to get out of here. You need to relax. And he's also like, okay, this is really pissing me off. Like, I can't believe I just yelled at Elizabeth like that. Like, she's driving me crazy. So I just love those two little moments specifically.
Yeah, that one really stood out to me as well. He yelled at her and then immediately apologized. It was really sweet. And I think this episode shows again what a good connection they have, because she tells him to leave it alone and let Zelenka figure it out or something like that, and he doesn't want to. And I think she says it wasn't a question, or I didn't ask you. It was like she basically ordered him to just and he listened to her. Like, he did a bit of a tantrum, but in the end he listened to her, and that was really, yeah, I really love to see it.
Yeah, the apology was so great because we know that Rodney like never wants to say he's sorry, right? Or feels like he should be. But I feel like in that moment, because it was Elizabeth, he apologized. Like, he didn't say sorry to Zelenka when he was yelling at Zelenka, and he would never apologize to his minions in the lab. I don't even think he would say sorry if he was yelling at John. But Elizabeth, heck yes, he would say sorry. And I loved that moment for that reason. There was also when Rodney had collapsed and they had brought him into the clinic, and Elizabeth makes that comment like, oh, when do you think we're going to get the old Rodney back? It was really sweet. And I don't know, the bedside vigil thing is so cute. So even at the end of the episode, when he collapsed again, and Elizabeth was waiting for him to wake up with John and Zelenka, that was so cute. I really liked that as well.
I love that. I love the way it is shot, kind of from like basically Rodney's point of view, and it's so cute. It's again, it's the leadership trio. Yay! and Zelenka. But he deserved to be there, and yeah, I think it just shows also how much in the end he cares about Rodney. But I have one more Elizabeth Rodney moment, and that's, I think it's right. Oh, I think it's when they are testing the with the mice, like the beaming in and out, and she asks like, anxious, and he's like, yeah, and that's it. But it's another it happens. I feel like this is not a second or third time that he just checks in with like one word, a really short sentence, if he's okay, or like what's going on with him right now, and he's like, yeah, and just like responds. It's like, oh, she reads him so well.
They're so cute.
So cute. And I love that we've kind of just been like highlighting like all the little crumbs we've been getting, because I think there's just some really good ones. When you think of like, for example, like SG1, you think of like, oh my god, like there's so many great friendships, like Daniel and Sam, or like, you know, like just like between like male and female. And I feel like Atlantis kind of, people don't talk as much about like the male and female friendships, but there's some really good ones. Like I think we've really highlighted how much of Elizabeth and Rodney there is. And even Elizabeth and Taylor, Rodney and Taylor. But Rodney and Taylor, there's some really fun moments too. I mean, definitely less than Rodney and Elizabeth. That was one thing I do kind of wish Taylor was more involved in, with, or at least had like one scene where she's like, is Rodney okay? But it's okay that we don't. But we also, new pairing has entered the building though. We'll keep keeping tabs of. We get a really fun Ronan and Elizabeth moment this episode.
We did!
New pairing has entered the villa.
Yes, first of many.
So let's get into the Ronan and Taylor part of this episode, but especially this Ronan and Elizabeth scene is so sweet. I love how man of few words Ronan is, especially the beginning of the show. And I love that Elizabeth tries to talk with him, and he's just like, okay. And she's like, okay, so you're good. And he's like, yeah, like, just let me know. And she's like, okay. And then later she goes to John, and she's like, yeah, chatty guy, huh? John's like, yeah. And she's just so, like, thrown off by how, like, just, like, kind of, like, nonchalant he is. She's just like, yeah. And she's like, okay. But I just love it. Little friendship moment, kind of, or the beginning of something new. Ooh, soon. Wink, wink, hint, hint. But yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that John is, like, so into the fact that Ronan is so, like, man of few words, because of course he would be. And I think for Elizabeth it's so different, because I think she's used to, in terms of her job, you know, people talking around things and maybe not being as forthcoming because they don't want to reveal their hand or be, like, too truthful or too vulnerable or whatever. But Ronan is just so honest and, like, straight up, and it's such a refreshing thing. Like, he's not, like, he's just like, yeah, like, he'll say yes if he means yes, and he'll say no if he means no. And it's just so good. And I love that for them.
Yeah, it's great. I love the bit where she, like, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And she's like, yeah, okay, I'm thinking about it too. Okay, then I'll get back to you. Okay, bye. It's what you said, Tor, that she's more or less used to people trying to communicate with words, and then there's suddenly someone who just doesn't do that, and it's kind of throwing her off, and I love to see it.
Yeah, because
And-
it's always so poised, right? So it's interesting to see someone come in and be like different, make her a little off balance.
Sam,
Yeah,
were you
I
going
mean-
to say something? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah. No, I'll jump in. No, I was just gonna say it's just so funny. Like there's such like an unlikely pairing, kind of, right? You know, like again, what you guys were saying, like she's so. It's words are like her language, which sounds so stupid to say, but like words are like everyone's words are language, but like, you know, like she like lives, breathes like words, and like she's mastered. You can see that she's mastered the art of like speaking in words, and and you know, and obviously we don't have that part of Ronan's backstory now, but we do know that Ronan used to be a poet, or used to be like, so he used to be someone who was well versed with words as well, and so it's like really, but like it's something he's had to lose over time, you know, and so it's so interesting to see. I like to think that there's like I want to say like he really admires her, or like he's really fascinated by her and how she kind of uses her words, and I like to, you know, over time obviously he starts talking a little more and more, and so I like to think that Ronan was just kind of watching her during meetings, or like watching her do her thing, and he was like getting more and more confidence to start speaking again and start maybe like writing poetry again. I think he would be very comfortable sharing his like works with her. I think they would really just work well.
That is so sweet. Oh.
Oh.
I feel like he wouldn't volunteer it to her at first, but maybe she finds out somehow, and then he's like, yeah, maybe then he's like really short with his answers again, but then
Aw.
he kind of he gets more
So under her
comfortable.
door.
But he definitely starts writing again, definitely. And yeah, also I had a thought about why he took so long making a decision whether he wanted to stay on Atlantis or leave. Maybe he took so long because this was the first time in 7 years that he could just rest and just just rest and take time off and just not be scared 24/7 or however long the days there are and weeks. Yeah, maybe he just enjoyed having like a vacation and he wasn't sure if he wanted to go back out there or not.
100%.
No, that is so true.
It was like the first time that he had time to think, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so funny that this guy has been on Atlantis for a week, maybe, and he's already training the others because he's just that good.
Yeah, even John was like, he's better than all our guys. Like, come on, he has to join.
He's so impressed by Ronan.
I loved it.
You know, not that I'm a big John Ronan shipper, but I think he's so like just obsessed with like Ronan's like capabilities, and he's like
Yeah.
has a big man crush on him right now.
Yeah.
Throughout the episode, he's just like, Ronan can do this. Ronan can do this. He's like, we're gonna win the war now. He's so like, he's just giddy, and I love how John just picks up strays. He just finds these people, and he's like, "You're coming home with me, bitch." He's like, "Oh my god." He's like, "You have trauma. You have nowhere to go. Can I introduce you to Atlantis? Welcome." We're all lonely over here. We all have no one over here. Like, join in the fun.
The found family-ness of it all.
Oh, yes, so much. Also, about the crush, he so has a crush. Like, I think it's the first time they're in the gym and Ronan is just beating up all the guys, and John just leans there and he's so checking out Ronan. I thought I was imagining it, but then you were saying so like, oh yeah, he has a crush. I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who's seeing it. I'm not a big shipper, like a big John Ronan shipper, but I see where the shippers are coming from. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, for real. I feel like Sheppard's little army was getting schooled and getting trained, and John was entering his horror era and was just standing there.
Oh my god.
Even one of the guys were
It's
like, are you gonna train too? And John was like, no, I'm good watching. Like,
I'm enjoying the show.
Oh my god. He's such a fruit basket. How did anyone think otherwise?
I know. And going back to
Lord
what you said
Almighty.
about the crush thing, I feel like it's so true because, in a sense, like, Ronan is showing how capable he is. And he has a very masculine energy. Like, he's very, like, strong. And I think that's comforting for John in a way because it's not all on his shoulders now. There's, like, this really capable, strong guy. So it's all good.
I'd just like to state the fact that 100 million, 10 times 1,000%, Ronan calls John his baby girl.
Yep. Yeah.
One time Judd got captured and Ronan just walks in it, that's my baby girl. And I'm getting her out of here.
He 100%, like, okay, he definitely calls John, like, princess to his face.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
like, oh, princess. Or, like, he'll definitely, like, fucking bully him with that. But he'll call John his baby girl to his face and behind his, like, and to other people as well. He'll be like, yeah, no, John is my baby girl. They're like, what? And he's like, no, he's like my baby girl. You don't get it. Him just carrying John back after the mission, like, bridal style. I love when he carries people bridal style, by the way. I love when he picks up Rodney and he's just like, this is also, he's like, this is my baby girl part 2. This is my number 2 baby girl. But John, isn't Joe like fucking like 6'1" or something crazy? He's like something super tall. And so it's so funny to imagine just Ronan picking up this 6'1" man and being like, yeah, that's my baby. I just saved him. Like, I did good work, Elizabeth, look. Fucking love. Because I always think about that gift set on Tumblr, that iconic gift set where it's like, John Sheppard is such a rich boy. Look at all the times he's been disgusted. And we get one of those moments in this episode where Ronan's just eating with his fingers, and John looks like John is so fucking annoying. He's so pretentious. He was literally like, he's baffled. He is shocked. He's in a state. And then he's like, use these. And Ronan's like, all right, whatever, fuck it, I'll do it if it makes you feel comfortable. And John's like, all the anxiety leaves his body. He's like, okay. He's like, I can breathe again. He was having so many panic attacks just watching Ronan. Like, oh, it's so funny. I love his little rich girl when his little rich girl comes out.
Also, he's eating Jello with his fingers, and it's just that is funny.
And mashed potatoes too.
It's a bonding moment for them.
But with
Yeah.
Ronan's pistol, his weaponry is way more advanced and powerful than anything that Atlantis has to offer. So that suggests that his civilization, where he came from, like, they were more technologically advanced, or like at least their weapons were superior.
That scene, oh my god. I know we ranted a lot about this episode, but we kind of moved on. And this episode has so many iconic moments, I feel like. It has the Ronan shows off his gun, or just knows how to use all the guns that John is throwing at him. Then the Dr. Fumbles Makes Stupid is also from this episode.
Yeah, iconic.
What you mentioned earlier, the you're cool, I'm fine. It's just sprinkled with all these iconic lines. I feel like I really enjoyed those.
How do we feel about Ronan and Tayla's scenes in this episode? I
I didn't really take any notes on their fighting scene. I just wrote down Taylor just doing a split, like in latest when he comes to apologize, and she's just chilling on her bed doing
Just
a split,
casual.
and I'm like, bitch, what? I think Ronan is just being Ronan, and he likes to catch people off guard, and so as soon as she drops hers, he's just taking advantage of that.
And it's kind of where he came from, right? Like 7 years on the run, you gotta fight dirty sometimes. And I kind of like that his style is different from her more disciplined combat style. And that they're equals too, in a sense. My problem with the scene is John. I don't like his, like, white knight swooping in to rescue Taylor thing. Because I feel like it wasn't... I guess I had the benefit of hindsight because I know and trust Ronan. Because he's amazing. We've seen him in other seasons. But if I was like the second episode he was in and he had Taylor on the ground, like maybe I'd be more sympathetic to John's reaction. But I just feel like, you know, Taylor can kick his ass in the gym.
Yeah, definitely. I agree on that. I don't think Ronan would have hurt her. He says that, right?
Yeah.
That he wouldn't have done anything. And if John hadn't come in, he wouldn't have caught her off guard. So I'd be curious to see how the fight would have continued. Because we see her kicking his ass in later episodes. Definitely.
Yeah, and I will say, it's hard to really say this, because I mean, I really do love Taylor and Ronan. Like, genuinely, easily, by far, the best female-male relationship on Atlantis to me personally. I think they have the most development. They have a clear understanding of who they are. They see each other as equals, and they just have so many scenes where they're both just being there for one another, and it's perfect. And I'll say it again, I think they are the best female-male relationship in all of Stargate. I don't think anyone comes close to touching their sort of like love and respect and sort of like need for each other. They need each other in Atlantis. They are the only two, other aliens, and we see that in that scene where he comes to apologize and she's like, yeah, I was just gonna say that. She's so pretty. She's just doing yoga like a goddess. Like, I was like, oh, so well. Anyways, though, so he comes in and they have that really good, really amazing scene where they're both talking about how they see Atlantis as their best hope for the Pegasus Galaxy. And that's why they're staying. They're making sacrifices. She's giving up her leadership position with her people, and like also like the respect of her people almost, because they were kind of pissed at that. They were pissed that she left them. But she's trading it because she sees Atlantis and these Earth people as hope. And I like that she tells him that. And I think that's what kind of helps click into place. Like, okay, I think I am going to stay here because he can make a difference here with her and with these people, these foreigners. And he's making an effort to be like, I trust you guys now, kind of. Or like, I'm going to fight side by side with you. Which is just really cool. I love everything about that scene. I love them so much.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm glad that they have each other. And I feel like from now on, I feel like Taylor must have still felt kind of isolated at times. Like, yes, by now, I think she's accepted by basically everyone. I don't know what happened to Bates, but she is accepted and respected by everyone. But yeah, now there's someone else who still knows how a bit, like, who understands her just on a different level, and all the humans from Earth do.
Yeah, like, despite being from very different places, like, Taylor came from a very rural society versus Ronan, who came from a very, like, urban place. I feel like just them both being Pegasus Galaxy natives and knowing what it was like to grow up under the threat of the Wraith constantly is, like, enough to bind them so close together forever in a way. I'm glad that they have that shared experience, because really Taylor didn't have that with anybody else on Atlantis.
Yeah.
Do you think that he was kind of thrown off when he learned that she has the Wraith gene?
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing, because I feel like we never really see that reaction in him overtly. But he despises the Wraith so much.
I think it really just depends what season or like what place in, how long he's been with the team and how cool his reaction would be. I think if he's with the team longer, if he's with Taylor, I think he'd pretty much just be like stunned for a little bit maybe, and then kind of get over it, But I think if he was like off the bat, or like, if she told him this episode or like the next episode, I think he would have been like pissed, and then maybe like not like giving her the cold shoulder for a few days before finally coming around after like John kicks his ass and is like, you better fucking apologize. Or Elizabeth kicks his ass. Elizabeth comes down and she's like, you better apologize to my wife.
In that voice.
Like, you guys are best friends. Yeah. Apologize. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I like to think, you know, he was marked by the Wraith in a way too, right? Like the idea of them modifying him with the tracker so that they could always know where he is, and then him kind of being a pariah from society because of that. I feel like they even would have that in common with Tayla's powers. I think they were both touched by the Wraith in a way. So I hope it would bring them together instead of tearing them apart.
No, it totally makes sense, and I like that. I like that idea. I didn't think of it that way. I was wondering if the Athosians are the only people in the Pegasus Galaxy who have this gene, because they had like a tale of like people who were taken away by the Wraith, and then a few weeks later or something they were returned. And I was wondering if that was limited to the Athosians, or if people who could sense the Wraith like Taylor exist in the whole Pegasus Galaxy, because I feel like if that was the case, then maybe Ronan wouldn't. If he knew people like that, maybe his resistance to accept her like that would be lower. Once she explained to him why she can sense the Wraith, and it's because she has Wraith DNA. But yeah, I think he would be thrown off for a bit at least, but eventually coming around, maybe because or he realizes that they have this similarity.
So I know I just praised the hell out of Taylor and Ronan and stuff, but I do kind of want to bring up a point, because like it's gonna start to happen, and so I just want to get out of the way now because it's like the first time. I mean, it kind of happened last episode too, but like last episode's different. But I think their bond, like I know I praise them as like the best male/female relationship in all the franchises, or in all the shows. But I feel like their bond comes from a place of just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Misguided, but just sort of like, I guess perchance kind of. Because so what I'm saying is that I think it like, while I appreciate their bond and I love it so much and I'm so happy we got it, I just think it starts a trend where Taylor and Ronan are just always kind of paired off. I feel like we get less of Taylor and Rodney, or Taylor and Elizabeth, or Taylor and John. It's just always Taylor and Ronan. And it feels so, again, evil, because again, it's just like they're the only two POC characters on the show. They're the only aliens in the crew, and it just feels like sometimes the writers were just like, just put them together, So by chance, we got this amazing friendship and relationship, but like, it's not coming from a good place. It was coming from like we just need these two to have like to get out so we can have like deal with the main people that we want to deal with. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I just kind of sad to bring this into this episode, because I really do like their relationship and stuff, but it's just gonna start to happen a lot, and so I just feel like we should just get out of the way now.
You're right, and we're going to start to see it in later episodes where there's going to be an A plot and a B plot, and typically Taylor and Ronan will take the B plot slot together.
We got sad again.
Yeah, I feel bad. I was like, I don't know how to bring it up, but I was like, I just feel like we have to just get it out of the way early,
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it too, I was thinking about it. I was like, why is like, they get so much together, Like, I remember that pack I made for them, right? I think that scene's almost like, it was like over 30 minutes or something, right? It was like 35 minutes or like 30 minutes or maybe like 25 minutes. But I don't know. It was quite a lot of scenes for them. And I was thinking back and I was like, well, why isn't there that many of like Daniel and Sam, or like, Matt and TJ? I mean, obviously, the universe is only 2 seasons, but even then, it's like, okay, like a 6-minute scene of like, there's 6 minutes of scenes between Eli and Cammy, or something like that, In Daniel and Sam, in 10 seasons, I mean, I'm sure they might have more than 20 minutes just because of how many seasons there are, but nowhere near as much as like constantly being paired off in episodes, And so, yeah, I was just thinking about that, and then I was like, oh, it's because of racism. It's because they were like, we need the POC people out of the way so we can deal with the white men. And so it's just like, it sucks but I'm also grateful, which sounds like horrible, but like it came from a bad place, but the actors themselves and like their chemistry and their bond turned it into something really good. And I think it's just good to highlight both the negative and the positive. That's what we do here on Jumping Puddles.
Yeah. So I love that we got to see Radek or that we got to accompany Radek on his first mission of World. That was really cute.
Too bad it wasn't very fun for him, though.
No, he was so jumpy, and I think it's so relatable. But just, yeah, I really enjoyed that. But boy, oh boy, did Radek had a role in this in this episode. I was impressed by him because I was so happy that he stood up for himself and that he got to tell Rodney, basically, yeah, that he got to tell him off and got to tell him that he's actually making mistakes. I mean, it's all understandable. Rodney has another consciousness in his brain, so I guess it's okay. Like, it's obvious that he's not gonna be at his best. But I really like that he got to say that, and also he was so pissed in this episode. he was so done. Yeah, after that, after he was being called Dr. Fumbles Next Stupid, I think it's in that scene that he says, yes, he made a mistake, or that it was his fault that Rodney, what happened to Rodney. But yeah, I think he was very true to himself in this episode, and I really, really liked that. And also, does his whole team speak Czech?
They just pick it up along the way because he's just been cursing it so much.
Yeah. But there's the scene where he's just, I don't speak Czech, so I don't know what he's saying. But he's just like, what I assume he was saying was like, okay, let's get this done, let's get going, and stuff like that. I was like, do they know what he's saying?
That's exactly what he said, actually. I have the translation here, and he was literally like, okay, kids, come on, go, go, go. We have to finish this. Get a move on. So you just tell what he's saying by the vibes.
Yeah.
100%.
But Ash, I think you're so right. I feel like Radek totally earned the title of Rodney's equal in every way in this episode. Like, he completely stood up for himself when Rodney was having his little meltdown. He doesn't let Rodney's yelling and superiority scare him out of telling him the truth. He was the only one willing to face Rodney and be like, you can't be here right now because you're making mistakes. And I can say this to your face with full honesty. And I was amazed by Zelenka in that moment because I am such a person to avoid confrontation. And he was so like, no, this is for your own good. I'm going to tell you when you're wrong. And that was awesome. I loved that bravery from him in that moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He wasn't telling Rodney to leave because, or out of spite, but he had his reasons, and it was for the safety of everyone. I also thought it was cool to see a little bit of German representation in this episode. I just mentioned her because she's on Radek's team, or Rodney. I'm not sure. Like, she's one of the scientists. And she says a line in German, and it's actually, I think, I don't know if the actor was German, or if she just knew German really well, but it sounds like actual German. It's not like with a heavy American or English accent. So that's very rare.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you, like, was that really good German? Like, was she actually speaking good? I'm glad she was.
Yeah, me too.
What were her lines? Wasn't she saying something about, like, it was like giving birth, like taking the thing out or whatever?
Yeah, she says it's like the birth of my nephew.
Oh.
I'm not gonna question why she was there, because I would become comfortable, I think.
Me too.
But yeah, that's her thing.
Passed out.
Same.
Instantly. And I like this. I love her comparison. That's so funny. Yeah. I was just gonna say I love again. Continuing on the Zelenka love train. I love at the end of the episode when Rodney tries to compliment Zelenka, but he like can't even get the words out. And Zelenka's just like, I know what you mean. Or like, yeah, like I am gray ears, whatever. Like he's just there, like, and Rodney's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like try. It's just like not working. It's so cute. I love them so much.
Yeah, it was great. I love Rodney complimenting Zelenka in such a Rodney way. Like it was my idea, but you did it, I guess. So thanks. It was so awkward and so very them, and just I loved it. So it's so good. It just goes to show that despite their sometimes professionally they may butt heads, but they really do respect each other's smarts, which is nice.
Well, not really speaking, but speaking of another part of their friendship, Carson. That was not a good transition at all. I tried, okay? I tried. I just want to highlight this little Carson moment that I thought was so funny. So towards the beginning of the episode, when the Wraith like crashes down and Carson goes up to the Wraith and he's like wanting to help, and John just fucking comes up and just like straight up like shoots the Wraith. Love that scene. It's not supposed to be as funny as I think it is. But like it's just hilarious that Carson is really like, I can help you. And he's like, Major, why would you do that? Or like, Lieutenant. And John's like, he was gonna click the self-destruct button, you idiot. And Carson's like, oh. Like you can just tell Carson has not been out in the field that much. Such a funny moment.
Literally like no hesitation. He just did not care. Just wasted that Wraith. It's funny, the one time Carson tries to follow the Hippocratic Oath, he's denied the ability by Sheppard.
Oh, zing, ayo.
Drag him. Oh,
we got him. We got him good. Yeah. I like how he tried to do his oath with Wraith and not human.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to bring up is we get, however, one of my favorite, I don't know how we haven't talked about this entire episode, but we get one of my favorite underrated pairings, in my opinion. It's not even a real, like, or people don't really know about, well, I think some people do, but Cadman and Katie.
Yeah, true that.
They should be dating.
Yes, I agree.
I like to think the scene in the beginning of Cadman talking to Rodney about Kate is that she's jealous.
I
don't know. I love just the botanist explosive expert dynamic. 100%. It's fire and water. It's perfect.
Love it.
Cadman talks about how they like were at like a bridge, or they were at like some sort of club, a poker club or something, and they like that's where she found out that Katie kind of likes Rodney, and I just think it's so cute. They have a poker club. Katie plays poker. Okay. It's so perfect, and I will forever be mad that we were robbed of a scene of them actually together. Like of
yeah, they are cute. I totally agree.
When Katie found out that it was actually Cadman during the date, she was wooed. She was like,
yeah,
maybe I will pursue this.
Actually, Cadman who kissed her.
Exactly.
It's like Cadman and Katie kiss.
There you go.
It's basically canon.
Hey.
It is.
Are there any fanfics about them?
If not, there should be. This is our
not,
call.
please write it, Ash. Please.
Yes.
Me? No. Oh my god.
Do it.
Or if any listeners want to write some fanfiction, please do, and then please just tell us. Fulfill all of our dreams and hopes. But if not, we're gonna place it all on Ash. No, I'm kidding.
All of our dreams and hopes.
No pressure. Why do I get more and more invested in more and more rare pairs? It's so hard.
That's the curse here at Jumping Puddles.
Anyways, though, I think that wraps up our discussion portion, and let's head on over to Ash for the Bechdel test.
Ooh, this is an interesting one.
This is interesting, and I gave it a pass, but it's when Cadman and Kate, so Cadman and Heidmeyer talk briefly, but through Rodney. But it's still them talking. So I thought I would give it a pass.
I think it counts, yeah.
I think it counts, yeah.
Good.
Interesting.
Take it away, Tor.
All right, so some interesting behind the scenes this week for Duet. First being, this episode was actually originally titled Out of His Mind, which I thought was kind of fun. It's kind of like a double entendre, right? Because, like, she's in his mind and he wants her out, so he's, like, out of his mind, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also, like, going a little crazy because she's in his head, so, yeah. So, according to Martin Giro, who wrote the episode, while rehearsing the scenes where Lieutenant Cadman had control of McKay's body, Jamie Ray Newman would actually do the scene first, and then David Hewlett would mimic her actions performing the scene. And the way she spoke, her accent, all that kind of thing. We didn't mention it, but this is actually the first episode to feature Jason Momoa and Palma Gillian as part of the opening sequence, and as such, the opening sequence has now changed. So there's not our, like, preview scenes as much anymore. It's just kind of blue with shots of Atlantis and Wraith.
I can hate this one.
Yeah.
This opening title, like, is so ugly. Like, no, like, full offense, actually. Like, I've seen some ugly ones, okay? Like, oh, this is the early 2000s. Like, they have ugly, like, introductions. This is on a different level. I don't know what they were thinking with, like, the giant faces and just, like, the random blue. Like, I'd rather the preview, or I'd rather, like, something, like, I don't know, creative.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't like it.
Doesn't bother me that much. I don't think it's too ugly. I do prefer, like, the previews, the clip shows. I like that in the intro. But what bothered me with this one, and because I'm rewatching my own, I'm doing my own rewatch, and I'm in season 4 now. And every time they don't even change, like, the faces anymore. It's the same intro from season 2 to 5. Like, it would be okay if they had, like, new images every then and now, but instead they just like, put in or take out the actors that left, and come on. So yeah, I'm disappointed.
Me too. It's not as bad as, like, the SG one, just, like, going over the...
Oh, yeah.
But it's still not as fun as the first season. Speaking of SG1, this episode is kind of similar to the episode Lifeboat, where Daniel gets all the consciousnesses of passengers stuck in his brain. Although I think that episode did a lot more for Daniel's character than this episode did for Rodney. But anyway, apparently McKay being in his bathrobe was supposed to be a little bit of a nod to Arthur Dent from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of my favorite books, so that's really fun. Also, according to the audio commentary, Cadman is actually the surname of Martin Giro's then-girlfriend. I'm not sure if they are still together, but part of the storyline is actually similar to the 1984 film with Steve Martin called All of Me, in which a man has to share his body with a woman's consciousness. And some of the physical comedy is sort of reminiscent of that as well. So Martin Giro, again in the audio commentary, mentioned that they wanted to actually name the title of the episode All of McKay as a nod to the movie. The Atlantis hangar that they were using to do the experiments on the mice and stuff was actually a redress of the gate room set.
Damn.
Oh, fun. That was a good one.
Yeah, I did.
It really...
Although they did a good job of hiding it because they couldn't really tell based on the scenes. Of course, in terms of our cast, we have Jamie Ray Newman, as I had mentioned, who is best known for playing Tess Fontana on Eureka. She was also in one episode of Supernatural, for any Supernatural fans out there. Shoot, what was it called? It was in the first season. She was a very cool stewardess on a plane that was going down.
Wow. I mean, take a shot every time you see a Stargate actor in Supernatural. You'd be drunk. You'd be dead. They really said, we're going to share. Even more than Star Trek. They really just reused.
Was Supernatural also filmed in Vancouver?
Yep. They
Oh,
shared.
okay. Same with X-Files, by the way.
The episodes
Oh.
actually came out in the same year. But the episode is called Phantom Traveler. I remember liking that one. Lloyd Bateman, who plays a soldier in this episode, I don't know if it's the one standing behind Ronan or one of the ones that were fighting Ronan in this episode, but that's actually Rachel Luttrell's husband. Yeah, and he also played little bit parts in Stargate SG-1 episode Evolution, Part 1 and 2. And he was also a regular army guy in Stargate SG-1.
Oh, wow.
That is so cute.
Jeff Robinson, who was the Wraith pilot in this episode, previously played the Wraith commander in The Siege Part 2 and Part 3. Nicholas Barrick, who played Hansen, whoever that is, in this episode, previously played Lieutenant Jonathan Reed in SG-1 episode A Matter of Time, and various soldiers and Marines in other episodes, including The Siege Part 3. Now, we also have some interviews that were done regarding this episode. So
Let's get ready for that.
yeah, let's mentally prepare for some of this. This one is an interesting one. This is from Martin Giro. He wrote this in a Gateworld forum back in the day when we used to use forums. And he says, Duet is possibly the funniest episode we've ever done on Atlantis.
It was certainly an episode. It was an episode.
It was an episode, and we talked about it.
We certainly did. Martin also went on to say that there will be plenty of Beckett this season, and he'll be doing more than just being the base doctor. My favorite episode so far is Duet, and David and Paul have lots of scenes together. It's as close to a Beckett McKay episode as you're going to get for the first part of season 2.
What?
That's what he said. Those are words that he indeed said.
Did they cut all the Rodney Carson scenes?
I know.
Oh.
They exist, but they're like 3 scenes? It feels like a Rodney episode, but Carson, I feel like he had less presence than Roddick.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
And then him saying, "Oh, we can get lots of Carson this season."
Did we? We'll look for that. We'll look out for that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he started getting stuff at the end when he did his crazy shit with Michael.
Okay.
True.
I don't know about the whole season though. We'll get more of Beckett, as he said, as being more than like the base doctor.
And this was from David Hewlett, and I think it's really sweet, actually.
Yay.
He said, Paul and I, our little thing was probably easier to do just because we know each other well enough. It's these poor actresses who've had to come in, and on their first day, they're supposed to be making out with me. And I'm just like, I'm really sorry. Oh. I love that. I love how he's so comfortable with Paul. He's like, I don't care, I'll make out with Paul. But, like, these poor women who have to make out with me, oh, no. It's just so... It's very sweet.
I love David. I think he's so great. He's so sweet.
He redeemed that for me by saying that.
Can I insert a little side note?
Yeah.
Please.
It was a few years ago, and it was, when the whole, with the Proud Boys movement, I don't know, with Trump supporters and that shit all started up, and I think they were trending or something, and there was like a counter movement where a lot of gay men posted photos with like a kissing or something, and David posted a photo of this scene, and just with hashtag Proud Boys and nothing else. And I was like, what's going on? Because I had no idea what was going on. So I checked it out. So I was like, oh, cool. Like what he did, obviously. Yeah.
Way to go, David.
David.
He's precious.
He's so sweet.
Oh, I forgot there was a goof that I forgot to mention. So one of the oopsies was, and I had asked this actually on my blog, because I had gifted a scene of this, and someone had answered. So Cadman is a member of the United States Marine Corps, but she's wearing a black beret on the planet, and the USMC doesn't actually issue berets of any color to any rank. So black berets are worn by non-ranger, special forces, and airborne soldiers in the Army, and they are also worn by air liaison officers, air mobility liaison officers, and airmen of the Tactical Air Control Party in the Air Force, but not in the Marine Corps. So I just think that's interesting, I guess because they were consulting with the USAF, so they just kind of did their thing and like didn't know really Marine Corps stuff, but that was weird.
It looks cute in a hat. Give her a hat.
It's true. She did wear it well.
Yeah, she rocked it.
Also, interestingly, this episode was nominated for a Writers Guild of Canada award. The silence is deafening. Yeah, and that's it. That's all I got.
And we're gonna just keep it going, cause Tor is gonna give us a fic rec for this episode.
Yes. My favorite. So, today we have a lovely episode tag for Duet, and it's called When the Subject is a Fraction by Punk. I love a lot of Punk stuff that they've written for SGA, and this is actually their first work for the fandom ever, which is really fun. And it's really interesting. It kind of paints the story in an interesting light, where Rodney believes that Cadman living in his body and then subsequently leaving, she may have left something behind, certain feelings behind, and it's a very interesting fic. I won't spoil it, but please go and read it. It's very good. Also, this just came to me when we were talking about the episode. Sam, you had mentioned that the ladies did a poker night on Atlantis, and that reminded me of another fic by the amazing Prue. It's called The Atlantis Local Stitchin' Bitch, and it's amazing. It's about a bunch of the female contingent of the expedition having a little knitting and crochet club where they talk a little gossip, and perhaps one lieutenant colonel joins in on the stitching and bitching fun, much to Rodney's dismay and ire. And I implore you all to go and read it. It's very fun.
Oh my gosh. Cannot stress. Oh, how good that thing is. It's so iconic.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot. That's so funny that in the show they had a poker club and then they have a knitting club. That's so cute.
Yeah, I think the fic actually came out a month after this episode. Yeah.
Ooh.
So it was very much inspired, I think, by Cadman's character, which is very interesting in that fic, so I implore you all to go and read it. And of course, we will link in our show notes, as always.
So, and of course, just check out all of our social media linked down below. You can find all of our personals and all of our public Just Jumping Puddle medias if you want to just keep in touch and see what we're up to on our regular day-to-day, or just see when we're posting a new episode. You can check that out all down below. And of course, we will have all the fic recs. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
All right, you clowns, listen up. I don't often get a chance to say this, so savor it. Good work, boys and girls. Let's go home.